Honorable colleagues, thank you, Elena. I would like to extend my gratitude to the organizer for such an opportunity to speak to this distinguished audience. The pandemic, as you know, has sent shockwaves through the global economy, but I'm glad that we all meet today here and discuss the issues that all matter to us. I will open my presentation. As we all know, in a digital economy, the lack of ICT governance and adherence to ESG principles exposes a company to significant risks. Responsible investing is becoming one of the main trends in capital markets, along with well-established trends such as interest in digital technologies and green energy. The board of directors of a company needs to understand the ongoing processes and determine their relevance for the organization. The amount of investment in the companies complying with the ESG principles in Europe has been growing by a third every 2 years recently. And in this regard, continuous transformation of the company governance becomes one of the main objectives of the board of directors. In this regard, the purpose of my research was to understand how ICT can help address tasks relating to environment protection and successfully integrate these solutions into corporate governance objectives. I want to draw your attention to the fact that lack of ICT governance and commitment to ESG principles exposes organizations to significant risks, which in their turn may stand in the way of implementing the organization business strategy. The board of directors shall play the crucial role in this process. However, the current corporate practice shows that due to the various reasons, and you can see them on the screen, it does not always manage to give due consideration to the methods related to technological development. According to the results of PwC's Russian board survey in 2018, board oversees technology adoption only in 7% of Russian companies. In other companies, it falls within the competence of the management. And this practice is a concern since the board is the key governance body in terms of incorporating ICT in companies' activities, as well as overseeing ICT risks. Honorable colleagues, active involvement of the board of directors in ICT governance and oversight of emerging risks becomes an adequate response to the ongoing technological changes. ESG risk management is one of the key topics on the agenda for the board of directors. And in the light of the events that had a critical impact on development of the company's strategy in health, safety, environment, hereafter HSE, the focus of the board is gradually shifting towards environment protection. To make HSE risk management more efficient, as well as to demonstrate the commitment to ESG, the board should pay much more attention to digitalization opportunities when developing strategies. And technology solutions can already mitigate risk and contribute to decision-making and resource distribution. A number of technologies can be applied right now. You can see them on the screen. But statistically, many board members overseeing ICT do not always have the required technical and professional knowledge and competencies. According to National Corporate Governance Index research in Russia's 100 public companies with the biggest capitalization, only 3% of board members have expertise in IT, with the average number of board directors having relevant competence being only 1. Therefore, sometimes the lack of understanding of city governance issues may prevent them from duly performing their duties. In its study, Spencer Stewart highlights that neither a single board member specializing in digital technology nor a CDO, Chief Digital Officer, are an efficient solution that could substitute for the remaining board members not being digitally savvy enough. It also leads us to suggestion that in the digital age, all board members should be digital savvy to this or that extent and bear collective responsibility for the final result. Effective risk management can be achieved by the board using the following recommendation you can see on the screen. Boards need to be able to understand how to oversee ESG risks through their overall oversight of risk identification and mitigation. Boards also need to understand how to adequately structure and disclose their ESG oversight to investors and other stakeholders. Honorable colleagues, I want to stress the fact that there is no universal model for ICT governance. by the board of directors. A balanced approach is the option in this field and would require taking into account a variety of factors. How board of directors work efficiently, PwC has developed an IT oversight framework that the board can be guided by, and that represents a 6-stage process you can see right now on the screen. Once the relevant approach is defined and agreed upon, the development of relevant corporate strategies may begin. The IT Governance Institute breaks down board's IT governance into 5 domains. You can see them on the screen. The first 3 of them are seen as the drivers for such activity, with value delivery, risk management as a result. It is noted that most models, structures, and standards for ICT governance take all these 5 main areas into account when dealing with implementation. And boards have a key role in ensuring that companies are aware of and able to navigate an ever-evolving risk landscape. And it is their duty to exercise risk-related oversight. Honorable colleagues, since ICT becomes an increasingly important tool for maintaining the organizational resilience of enterprises, it is obligatory that the level of corporate governance and the agenda of board meetings are in line with the ongoing changes in terms of the strategy and the improvement of the company's competitiveness, as well as ESG issues. The time between 2010 and 2015 demonstrated that security-related issues remain the main information technology topics discussed by the board. To help companies define such IT priorities, we listed them on the screen, but I have to stress that at the same time, the list of such priorities can be expanded and in any case should be determined depending on the needs of the enterprise and its development strategy. Evolution of the agenda drives changes in the company's organizational structure. As you know, many digital mature enterprises at the operational level choose having a chief digital officer in their organization, while at the strategic level, they strive to have a dedicated board committee. It's common practice. However, the role of board committees increases significantly, but depending on the country and the sector of economy. Some companies started creating board-level IT governance committees alongside with, for instance, audit or risk committees early in the 2000s. But in the light of increased attention to ESG factors, the creation of ESG committees has also become a significant tendency in corporate governance. For instance, the board of directors of Nike formed a corporate responsibility and sustainability committee. It would be reasonable to reflect the changes in the agenda in the organizational structure of the company. However, the practice shows that dedicated committees are established quite seldom. According to the US Technology Transfer Fuel Box Index 2019 research, only 8% of 200 surveyed major US technology companies have established a so-called Science and Technology Committee. It should be also noted that establishing a board committee is not always the best practice that has to be followed by every company. It all depends on specific company, and for some of them, it may result in a waste of time and resources. Therefore, the issue of establishing a dedicated IT committee needs extensive advanced consideration. Honorable colleagues, to sum it up, let me wrap up by saying that one should agree that all companies have ICT governance in place. The only difference between them is that companies that do it efficiently have developed and implemented a set of mechanisms for such governance and encourage behavior that corresponds to the enterprise mission, strategy, culture, and values. For many companies, ICT and environment protection have turned into a tool for survival and growth. At the same time, ICT governance being a part of the corporate governance system is becoming more and more important for the function. This is reflected both in organizational changes and in evolving board's meeting agenda. What also needs to be understood is that efficient ICT governance in one entity is not a guarantee of the same result in another. It depends on a multitude of factors to be taken into account. Thus, ICT governance and ESG principles application require a systematic approach based on specific features of the company and its development strategy. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm open to all your questions. Thank you.